Nigerians are debating recent incidents on health delivery in Nigeria and unnecessary patient death. Former NBA President Olisa Agbakoba has been discussing what could be a way out of what has become a very sad scenario in healthcare delivery in the country. Stakeholders in Rivers State are weighing in on the situation with regard into the planned impeachment of Governor Fubara, as Pandev has set up a committee to end the crisis. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbale here in Abuja. We begin tonight by looking at what is happening in the development in Rivers State. First, we're saying stakeholders who are weighing in on the matter. The impeachment, the planned impeachment process and proceedings on Governor Fubara and his deputy is getting a lot of stakeholders worried, and they're already talking about a possible way out of the situation. Today, the impeachment saga involving the House of Assembly and Governor Fubara has led some lawmakers, the minority leader and another lawmaker of the APC, asking their colleagues to stand down on the matter and end the impeachment proceedings. They had a press conference earlier today. Take a listen to them.
We have called this press conference to appeal to our fellow colleagues to tamper justice with mercy and to see how we can resolve this matter apart from the impeachment proceedings. That is why we are here this morning to appeal to the conscience of our fellow colleagues, having listened to so many pleas, calls from our elders and leaders, both within and outside the state, begging for leniency. We are begging, calling our colleagues to reconsider our step and see how this matter can be resolved amicably, even though the governor and the deputy governor has infringed on the Constitution.
That's on the inside in the State House of Assembly. On the outside, we have the stakeholders and leaders in the state who are asking that the situation in the state might get really bad if the impeachment process continues. So the leadership of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEV, has inaugurated a committee headed by former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Kanu Agabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to find political solution to the ongoing feud between the Governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, and the Minister of the EFCC, Nyesom Wike.
The terms of reference of this committee are very simple, and I'll read them out. The first thing, I have some of the same age. Okay. The first thing is for them to fully identify the main actors in the crisis between the governor and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. There are actors. It's only not two of them. Because even when the Speaker, the motion was moved, there were other people that were there that moved motions and contributed. Next, to reach out to these critical players, especially the Minister of the FCT, all former governors of Rivers State, elders and traditional rulers, and top political leaders. Others fuel crisis in states. We have to talk to them. There's a broken down wall we have to build it back. Number 3, to facilitate dialogue between them. We want to solve the problem. Rivers State will be solved once and for all. People asked me a few days ago, the SGF went to Benue State that said, I will solve the governor, I will solve the FG.
All right, that's Pandef's position on the River State political crisis. Well, tonight, the sad passing of the son of famed Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie. Chimamanda Adichie is getting a lot of Nigerians worried about the state of healthcare delivery. And one person that is being really responding to a lot of state-of-the-nation matter. He's a former NBA president and a senior advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, who has put pen to paper on what could be a possible solution in stopping the unnecessary deaths of Nigerians in Nigerian hospital. And this is not a first kind of death that we'll hear, especially when families of deceased or those who die in hospitals allege medical negligence by this hospital. And so many cases, long list of these kind of cases. Well, it is not only about these hospitals. It's also about the medical system in Nigeria and the healthcare delivery system versus the patient and how it is done elsewhere outside of this country. We'll be hearing from him the solution on whether or not the Nigerian government will rise. We understand that the Lagos state government is also weighing in on the matter. Are we going to allow this kind of situation go forward or happen again or repeat itself in our country, where people are now done to enter hospitals? That gets our attention tonight. Don't forget, I promise you that there is a portion of our yesterday interview that I heard about the EFCC chairman talking about the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, and some of the houses were confiscated and permanently forfeited to the federal government from the alleged loot and the fraud under the former CBN. He spoke about it, and I'll give you that bit of that interview. But first, let's have you with some of your political roundup stories.
Security has been tightened around the Kano State Government House amid reports of the planned defection of Governor Abba Yusuf. At the main entrance to the Government House, combined security personnel drawn from the Nigeria Police Force and the Department of State Services (DSS) were stationed at strategic locations. Security checks were also intensified, with access to the Government House subjected to strict identification procedures by security operatives. The leadership crisis rocking the Labour Party has taken a new turn in Rivers State as members of the two factions of the party, alongside the Obedient Movement, announced their defection to the African Democratic Congress (ADC). Members of the faction loyal to former Finance Minister Senator Nenadi Usman and those aligned with the former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi made the announcement during a joint media briefing in Port Harcourt. They explained that persistent internal divisions within the Labour Party, both at the national and state levels, informed their decision to defect, declaring total support for Peter Obi's political direction ahead of the 2027 general election. To Adamawa State, where Christian youths of the All Progressives Congress in the state have declared that the party is not established along religious lines, but is inclusive of all Nigerians irrespective of faith and tribe. The group made this known during its maiden media briefing in Yola, the Adamawa State capital. According to the state coordinator, Mr. Joseph Muadiale, the formation of the group has become necessary to correct the persistent misconception that the party is meant for a particular religious group. In Delta State, the leadership of the Bomadi local government legislative arm has accused the council chairman, Honorable Dagidi Andaye, of financial and administrative misconduct, alleging that he forged councillor signatures to unlawfully secure an 800 million naira loan from a commercial bank. Addressing journalists in Bomadi, the newly elected leader of the House, Honorable Thangod Teriki, alongside 14 other councillors, announced that an impeachment notice has been served on the chairman and forwarded to the Delta State House of Assembly, the governor's office, relevant oversight bodies, and security agencies. The councillors alleged that the chairman engaged in executive excesses, intimidation, and the diversion of council funds without legislative approval, actions they described as abuse of office.
So much in everyone for staying with us on the program. You've been served with your political roundup stories. There you have it. Yesterday, we had the interview, the exclusive we had with the EFCC chairman, Mr. Ola Olukoyede. A part of that interview, which did not see the light of day, and because of timing, is the portion where he spoke about this former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele. This is exactly that portion. Take a listen.
The over 700 duplexes, we were looking for some of us who want houses, who were looking maybe to subscribe. Have they been fully forfeited, and are they now on auction so that Nigerians can know how to subscribe?
Sure, I think you are trying to juxtapose your level of worth with mine. Initially, when you asked me how rich I was, I know you're definitely richer than me, Sure. Because a couple of weeks ago, I was asking after you when I saw one of your programs, I learned you are somewhere outside this country to enjoy Christmas holiday. And me, I was here working. I didn't even afford to travel last time. I was here working. So, Sheon, and I'm not sure you need such houses. You're a big man. But answering your question, Sheon, the old Nigerians knew when I handed over the property to the Ministry of Housing. So the Ministry of Housing is working on it with a view to completing the project, making it habitable. And the Ministry of Housing has promised Nigerians that they are going to be transparent. I mean, they will be transparent in the process of disposing those houses. So I think something is being done in that area. So we should just allow the ministry to carry out their responsibility. So it's no longer with us; it's with the Ministry of Housing.
Mr. Ola Olukoyede, Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for that. So part of that conversation was also that the CBN governor, who is under trial based on what happened under his watch at the CBN. So look at it, says they are pursuing that matter, and as the case is in court. For those who think that what has been done, asking questions about those duplexes that have been forfeited. Let's now tell you about some of the issues that have come up today. For example, we do know that the famed Nigerian author, Chimamanda Adichie, has been speaking about the situation surrounding the death of his son. And the author has alleged medical negligence of the Lagos hospital. We understand that the Lagos government also says they will weigh in on the matter. But the hospital says that the report and the reports that are being in the public domain is not true about the position of things, and they're defending themselves. However, the National Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria have called off the strike, which should have happened today. They say the Vice President Kashim Shettima's intervention on behalf of President Bola Tinubu made it easier for them to call off that strike. But let's tell you that one Nigerian who is interested in this issue of medical negligence, health delivery in this country, is a former NBA president and senior advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Ulisa Agbakoba, will spend an article asking how the critical questions on healthcare delivery in Nigeria, what should be done, and is proposing a structure on how we can move forward from here. He's live for us on the program. Dr. Ulisa Agbakoba, it's a pleasure having you on the program tonight. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Yeah. Before I get you to
speak... Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. It's good to see you, sir. This is the very first time we engage with you. Before we get into this medical healthcare system in Nigeria and what you wrote in that article, which as soon as I got it and I saw it, I had to call you to say, Dr. Agbakoba, you need to speak on this matter. I know quite a number of Nigerians who have suffered medical negligence, and nothing has really happened. The hospitals are going on as though nothing can ever happen to them, and the medical practitioners in question are really doing nothing. But I mean, for someone, a student of law, I particularly had interest in courses relating to, I had studied medical law, which really gave me an understanding that there is a structure in discipline and taking up this matter. But are they effective? These are issues that we'll take up. But Dr. Agbakoba, because I know you're an elder statesman, this issue of River State and the impeachment processes on the government, on the governor, this is the second one. In your elder statesman mind and in your own view, what do you think is really going on with regards to River State governance?
Well, what's going on is a clear indication that our political class have no interest in Nigerians. Because I've not heard in any of all these disputes that these people understand that they are governing Nigeria, and in particular, Rivers people. It's a topsy-turvy situation in Rivers. First, the governor was in PDP, and Mr. Wike was pursuing him. He now, bent over backwards, resigned from PDP, went into APC. So what the hell is the problem? I just don't understand it, except it's a power fight for 2027. That's clear. But what is very painful, and it leads to the reasons why you've invited me, is an entire governance failure in Nigeria, not just in the healthcare system. Everywhere there's failure. Well, you have people in power, in diverse political parties, rather than focus on Nigeria, they're just interested in themselves. Why would there be an issue? I mean, I don't support Wike or Fubara. I don't care for any of them. But if Fubara was elected on the PDP and it was forced out of the PDP into the APC, then what again is the issue? What's the issue? It's difficult to understand, and these are issues that make Nigerians absolutely bleed with suffering and poverty. So could they just please kindly remember that they were elected by the votes of Rivers people? And Rivers people will be terribly disappointed in what's going on, because it's as if no one exists in Rivers State except Fubara and Wike and the political people. Well, what are the grounds of impeachment? It's difficult to comprehend, honestly. Difficult.
Well, I mean, there's also a lot that is happening outside of Rivers State. And there are those who think whatever that is going on politically in the country, we should go ahead with it. There are those who say, now we should look at options and alternatives. For some of you who had attained a certain age, you've seen it, you've been in the trenches, you've been jailed because of Nigeria, you fought for the political independence of this country from the military. Now, we've got the civilians in charge of this country, and the same cry some of us who have seen military governance in Nigeria have seen is the same thing that is still going on in our country. Does 2027 present to us, from your own point of view, an alternative, an option, a position, or an atmosphere where Nigerians can really make an alternative or a decision for their future?
I do hope that Nigerians would, looking at what's going on, take this decision to reclaim their votes. Stop taking bread and 2,000 naira. Really think through the question whether in the last 4 years, that is when 2027 comes around, think very carefully before you cast your vote. Exactly what have you benefited from whoever is governor or president? That's how to make a decision. If you feel that people in political power have not benefited you, why vote for them? But as you know, unfortunately, because of the high level of poverty in Nigeria, votes are bought. And that's what is so difficult to understand. What's the way to overcome this cycle of vote buying? Because by 2027, the political people will take money, 2,500 naira, 1,000 naira, and get votes. And the cycle continues, and the poverty continues. So I don't know what's going to give. To be honest with you, I don't have the answers, but I'm absolutely sick and tired and fed up of this problem of Nigeria going down the drain. Every day, it's one calamity after the other. Chimamanda's case today, tomorrow is another one. Nothing is happening. The country is sinking. We're not getting any better, and the answers are not clear.
Let me drive you straight into the arena for which I called you earlier for this interview. And that's about, and I know that it's so timely, because Chimamanda Adichie's son's case is one too many, one will say. We've heard it, and a lot of people, is Chimamanda Adichie's son's case today. There are many, many more that have happened in the past years that people do not know about, or that is happening right now that people don't know about it. The famed Nigerian author, internationally acclaimed Nigerian author, accomplished in every sense, was faced this very, very sad incident that has happened. And I'd like to get your view. You live in Lagos where that has happened. And some of the biggest hospitals in Lagos have been accused of this kind of negligence. She has alleged medical negligence. But in the case of Chimamanda Adichie's son, what exactly do you think played out?
Well, as you know, one has to be extremely careful because it's still in the state of allegation. So what has been said about this? But first of all, let me just give a small background. There is a complete medical, regulatory, and legal failure in the medical profession. Complete. All the systems are broken. The medical profession is suffering from lack of funding, the regulatory institutions, everything. The last law regulating the medical profession was passed in 1963. It's absolutely obsolete. That's part of the problem. But in this case, if what is alleged is true, what was administered to the young baby is such a powerful sedative that if wrongly administered can cause cardiorespiratory failure. So the essence of the sedative was to stabilize the child for a long journey. And if true, because as I said, one has to be extremely careful, we're at the stage of an allegation which has been made by no less a person than Chimamanda, but the hospital has also denied the allegation of medical malpractice. So the investigation that the governor has launched will establish what's going on. The hospital, in fairness to them, in my long years of medical malpractice cases, is one of the very few, I must commend them for that has triggered an internal governance, check as to what went wrong. But what I would say to the hospital is they needed to have involved independent, people, the family, external medical people from the legal profession, to give authenticity and transparency to that process. But exactly what happened is simple. There is an alleged overdose of propanol. You remember the Michael Jackson case? It was exactly the same medication that was administered to Michael Jackson, but it was an overdose, and that caused them to have respiratory and cardiac arrest issues. So we'll wait and see what would play out. But I think beyond that, it's a bittersweet thing that it took Chimamanda's stature to call attention. I've done about 25 cases last year, I think. Even the famous case of Meju Boma. Nobody cared about it. We were just on our own. Eventually we had a good decision from the coroner and the hospital was sold. So what Chimamanda's case has highlighted is what happens on a daily basis. It's just not Chimamanda's case. I, speaking to you, I've been a victim. My brother Nnamdi was also a victim. He had hernia, went to a physician, and the physician conducted an operation, what should be done by a surgeon, and he went into septic shock. So what I think this should teach us in Nigeria is the need for a new medical governance regime. The law is too old. It's over 63 years old, needs to change. We need a strong regulatory framework. The Medical, Dental, and Dental Council of Nigeria is too slow. They are the ones who do supervise medical malpractice, but they are not independent, mostly appointed by government, underfunded, very slow. Their results are not transparent, so nobody really is called to account. The other point would be for hospitals to be called to account, not just focusing on the doctors, but the doctors also have their own responsibility. The other point, I think, why this issue is underreported is that people are exasperated about taking it forward. They don't get compensation. The courts are too slow. When you go, you have to prove medical malpractice, which is such a difficult thing. Unlike in the UK, where the test is different. In the UK here, the test of proving that a doctor is negligent is that you have to prove malpractice. In the UK, you prove clinical incompetence. They are related, but clinical incompetence is far easier to establish than medical malpractice. So what I intend to do after this, because it's not enough to keep talk, I would be writing to the speaker, as I did in the case of Peju Boma, but maybe now that we have this new situation, reminding the speaker of the letter I wrote, I think 2 years ago, calling for a complete overhaul of the Health Act, of the health law of Lagos State. It is absolutely old and needs to be changed. But one important area that we need to look at would be in the area of clinical governance. Now, the last chief medical officer of Nigeria was the late Sir Samuel Manua. I think he was in office in 1976. The job of clinical governance is to make sure hospitals run according to certain standards. Inspections take place, and you can be sure that the doctors are on their toes because they know that the clinical governance regime is at play. What has happened since that time is that the Health Act governing the Federation has empowered the minister to be the chief medical officer. That's not possible. The Lagos State health law has done the same. So you would not find a position for the chief medical officer, who actually is the person standing between the minister and the hospitals. His role or her role is making sure that the hospitals offer clinical care. That has been removed. And that's why you have everyday killings in hospitals. It's a killing field. And that has to stop. So Chimamanda's case, unfortunately, yes.
So, I mean, there are, and I said earlier that I had a very good opportunity to be taught by a PhD law practitioner who is equally a medical consultant in his field of practice. Very rare in Nigeria. When I was studying law, he taught me medical law, medical and health law.
I think I know the guy. Yeah.
You know him well. He's the chief medical officer at the State House Clinic. He's a lawyer and a medical doctor who has risen to the highest levels in both at the first class and the law school, had distinctions in master's and PhD in both practices. So very interesting. And it was a very practical. I was particularly one of the most engaging students in the class because as an adult, I've seen so many issues. And on the health and medical law, there are issues of medical error, medical negligence, medical malpractices, unethical conduct. And there are very different aspects of all of this, which even in the doctor-patient relationship, there are a lot to consider. Unfortunately, in the Nigerian context, there are too many things that happen that professionally in elsewhere, some people might be going to prison because of some of those conduct. Consent. I mean, you heard about the case of how a medical doctor removed a patient's kidney without the patient's consent. How catheter has been wrongly positioned or wrongly administered such that it led to complication. We've heard about how a nurse injected on the wrong part of the body, or on the muscle, which led to, I've seen situations where people have had to go and do surgery on their arm just because they were given injection on the arm, and it led to skin disease, and it was deteriorating. These are grave issues. I mean, laws in Nigeria, we have them in abundance. Is it a case of the bodies of laws or a case of a systemic failure? What do you think we have more as a problem in Nigeria?
It's a combination of everything, which I call governance. So if you have a particular sector, whether it's medical, oil and gas, and whatever, and you allow the people there to go unregulated, then you will have problems. everything in the world requires supervision and compliance. There must be compliance, ethical standards. When these compliance measures are not in place, then it means that, for instance, for the doctor, no one is checking him. He can do what he likes, absolutely what he likes. If he conducts himself wrongly, who is there to supervise that misconduct? Nobody. Because as I said, one of the key functionaries in the medical system, the chief medical officer, is no longer as important in the scheme of things as they used to be in the 70s. So they are practicing on their own. I mean, there was a case I did. There was a horrible case that led to the death of the lady in question. The hospital just gathered a team of doctors. One came from Umuahia, arrived on Friday, performed surgery on Saturday, returned to Umuahia on Sunday, and the patient was dying of acute kidney injury. Where was the doctor? Under the ethical rules, you ought to see your patient after surgery within 24 hours. But he returned to Umuahia. And in the course of the coroner's inquest, the coroner asked, you took part in this operation and you disappeared you came from Umuahia and returned to Umuahia. How could you be effective? That's a big case of medical, negligence. But one has nobody to supervise these people.
Yeah.
So all these hospitals, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and yes, it's important also that the understanding that there are two prongs to how a doctor-patient relationship should happen. One on the
Yes.
other, on one hand,
Yes.
is trust, to be guided by the law of trust. The
Yes.
other on the law of contract. As soon as a patient enters into the hospital, right, there is a contract that is established that you are supposed to do this and
Absolutely.
do that. Also, when you have administered, yes, you have done your own part. The trust from the patient that my life is secured and safe as I have submitted it to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in the Chimamanda Adichie's son's case and the case, the Woma case that you reference, at what point can a patient say, look, I've entered into a contract with this hospital, and now I trust this practitioner to be able to exercise his professional, in his professional capacity, deliver the best care for me.
Yeah. I mean, the point would be when the patient has the confidence, because generally we make that assumption. If I were to go to the hospital and the doctor said you needed to take an injection, I would not immediately begin to ask, are they competent to do it here? So there's a certain degree of trust. You hand over yourself to the care of the hospital. So it's a big duty on the part of the hospital to absolutely make sure that they can deliver quality care. But you need a Quality Care Commission. In the UK, there's something called the QMC, the Quality Care Commission. Their job is to ensure that if you claim to be a hospital specializing in this field, you have everything. In the case of Bejuboma, the hospital ought to have had an ultrasound scan. They didn't have it for such a delicate operation they were conducting. And they were found absolutely liable. So this issue here, I think, ought to be a lesson to us all. It ought to be a lesson to the Nigerian government. It ought to be a lesson to, I mean, it's not enough for the Lagos State governor to have made, a broadcast. I mean, I commend him for that. But what will change is the issue. The child of Chimamanda must not be allowed to have died in vain. If it will lead to a complete reform of the medical system, then so be it. And that's what is required. We need to have a new Medicare system in Nigeria. That should be the way we should go forward, take this thing forward.
You have inferred in your piece that there is some level of lack of oversight, and that some hospitals just ride on without checks. And you have also raised questions about how aged our laws are and needs to be rapidly and consistently be checked and changed. And if you do a comparison, and I mean, a lot of people know in the United States, for example, issues of people are very careful. Hospitals are very careful because the bodies of law in their healthcare, in their healthcare, people get paid a lot of money for little things. But if you make a very
Absolutely.
good comparative analysis, sir,
Sure.
between the Nigerian healthcare system, the UK bodies of law, the South African system, and the United States system, we might be able to get a sense of how weak our systems are, how ineffective our laws are. For example, there are those who have accused or said that, look, you also mentioned inconsistency in the rulings that we have seen in the Nigerian laws. The long delays in the healthcare practitioner laws that we have seen. Doctors blamed individually.
Sure.
What happens in other hospitals in the UK, for example, are legally liable also. In the Nigerian system,
Yes,
there's a weak
absolutely.
clinical governance, there is a poor record system, there are electronic healthcare data system in other climes. How can we rapidly make this system change? For example, I imagine if Lagos State because Lagos always led in a lot of judicial and legal reforms. Can we start with Lagos, for example, in changing what has become a very concerning healthcare delivery legal system?
Yes, we can, because what we need to do is just to simply look at the Lagos healthcare, the health bill, the health act, and say to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, could we really have a public hearing about this law in view of all the killings? I mean, Chimamanda's own is big news, it's public, but I can assure you that in my own practice, we're dealing with one now where it's a lawyer who took the wife to deliver a baby in the hospital. I mean, a simple procedure. Baby died. And that was it. We then said, okay, you know what? We are not happy with what has happened. Could we have what we're entitled to in law? The medical records. They said they won't give it to us. Because I've seen cases like the Obama case where once it's gone wrong, then they begin to doctor the records. I can even tell you a story about this doctoring thing. So I recently had a fire in my house. So I complained to the Eco Electricity Corporation. Look, the neutral in the wire coming into the house was energized, and therefore it sparked fire into the place. Could you take responsibility? They didn't. But they came thinking I wasn't clever enough to know what happened. They disconnected everything, thinking that I would not realize this. So there is a very important lesson here, and I use this as an example. We need to be very conscious when we even visit hospitals. I personally read my medical lab results very carefully, because sometimes when they think you don't know what the lab results say, they tell you something different. There was a lady, fortunately, she survived. The husband came along to see us, and high blood pressure was extremely high, and she went in. And a nurse, there was no doctor, said, no, madam, don't worry. We're going to give you an injection. And she was a bit taken aback. Injection for high blood pressure? This didn't seem normal. But she insisted, the nurse insisted, give her the injection, and she went into a state of shock. But luckily she survived. So I can go on and on and on. My brother had this hernia case I just mentioned, where he went to see a physician. Hernia is a little surgery that is operated on the left side. The physician cut him open. Unbelievable. A physician.
Yeah. It's so
cut
sad.
him open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's take a little break. We've had a colleague here who
sure.
was misdiagnosed. And when he got out, he saw that whatever they were diagnosing him of in Nigeria was totally different from what was. Well, it was almost too late until he got out of this country. Yes. There are good hospitals, there are good doctors in Nigeria, but like you mentioned, the system is failing and people are dying. Will the government allow this to continue? The government is responsible to ensure that the system is rid of all of these unnecessary deaths. We'll go on the break, everyone. But when we return, Dr. Olisa Agbakoba is still with us. We'll be looking at the law, medical. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Dr. Olisa Agbakoba has penned a piece on the situation in our healthcare system in Nigeria and the legal confines where these doctors practice. But we must establish that the medical profession is one of such a profession, like the legal profession or the accounting profession also, that are guided by statutes of our laws, such that every member of the medical profession is supposed to be registered with a body that is now guided by certain laws. But of course, over the years, we've seen how the medical practice in Nigeria, the law of the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act, developed from 1963 to 1968, later in the 1970s, and even in the early 90s, there are being review of those laws. But there are those who believe that these laws are now outdated and sluggish in implementation of sanctions or discipline to erring medical practitioners. Dr. Agbakoba has been speaking with us with specifics to some cases, especially the latest one relating to the death of the son of the Nigerian famed author Chimamanda Adichie, whose son died at the Lagos hospital. Dr. Agbakoba, one of the things that is very apparent in the flaws that some Nigerians have identified in the bodies of our medical law is the fact that there is, for example, how a medical doctor is being singled out in the question or the query of whatever the breach is, as the hospital seems not to be liable. That is a major issue, isn't it? Dr. Agbakoba, I'm not sure you can hear me. So we'll wait for the engineers to fix the communication gap in hearing and being able to be heard by Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, who's been speaking with us on this particular matter. But of course, what we know as of today is that there's been a confirmed response from Chimamanda Adichie, who is alleged medical negligence in the circumstances surrounding the death of a 21-month-old son, Nkanu Nnamdi, who died on Wednesday, the 7th of January, 2026. There was a statement attributed to her saying that the son was taken to a hospital called Urekia Hospital for an MRI scan and the insertion of a central line, during which he was sedated but was not properly monitored after being administered propofol, leading to complications, including loss of responsiveness, seizures, and cardiac arrest. Well, the medical center has responded to say that the report or whatever that is in public domain is not exactly the case, as that the hospital has its own side to explain in the matter. But Dr. Agbakoba, I guess you can hear me now. One of my concern is that hospitals are held responsible for failures in some other crimes. Why is Nigeria still focused almost entirely on individuals, doctors?
I see.
We're still not able to connect. We're going to break, but when we come back, we'll be able to hear Dr. Agbakoba properly.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser. Or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous. There are 1,001 ways to start your day.
Whether you're in Lagos, Nigeria,
in London or anywhere in the world,
or online,
we all want a perfect start to our day, don't we?
7 a.m. Every weekday, we bring you a better way to start your day. Modern lifestyle requires a lot of energy, backed up by intense production processes, which impact the environment in more ways than one.
The world has realized that you cannot deal with climate change without looking at loss of biodiversity.
On Echo Africa, nature speaks and the discerning mind becomes champion of sustainable living.
One thing we want to do is to change public behavior around recycling.
Watch Echo Africa on Channels Television and find out what nature is saying.
In every show, we bring you closer to the fastest growing movie industry in the world, from the making to the premiere. Get up close and personal with the stars and industry captains, plus reviews and much more. Nollywood Uncut, every week at these times.
Welcome to our house. I'm Melinda. Coming up on today's episode of the program.
Life is a stage. A bold canvas. Some paint on it. Spring some rhymes while at it. Then enjoy it on Art House. You see life in beautiful curves, crafts, colors, and most exciting forms. Join us as we savor intriguing sights and sounds. At these times, Art House, life is art.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Dr. Agbakoba can hear us clearly. Dr. Agbakoba, I was asking, I'm worried. Well, that loophole is one of the things that you have identified. Why hospitals seem to be left off the hook, and the laws permit that the medical doctors or individuals are now being solely responsible when we see cases of breach in delivery of health care.
All right. So the simple reason is the laws are not, conforming with international standards. There ought to be two levels of responsibility: institutional, which is the hospital, and the doctor who will be liable for clinical incompetence. So as I said, the main problem, as I see it in the long years I've been in this field, is that the hospitals tend to get away with it. Second is that even when you go before the disciplinary tribunal, which is the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria, it's opaque. It's so difficult. They sit in Abuja. It takes forever. Just get frustrated. You just want to run away. You've lost your child or your wife or whatever, and then there's another wahala of going through this rigorous process that is endless, which is controlled by the ministry. So the whole thing needs to come down. We just need to bring down the entire medical infrastructure down and rebuild. So the hospital,
I'm worried though, when Lagos State government says it has set up a mechanism to investigate the matter, objectively. But the question is that legally speaking, I don't know whether the Lagos State government can directly intervene in this matter, because by law,
they can't. They can't.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted you to explain also. Legally speaking, can Lagos State government dabble or move into the matter?
No, they can't. The proper procedure is actually for Chimamanda, but obviously with the sudden loss of the baby and she's living abroad, I take it that I understand that she's got counsel. So I take it that what would happen would be that the lawyer would engage the hospital, and the hospital will now, say what happened, what went wrong, or what didn't go wrong. The way I see it so far is the hospital seems not to accept responsibility. Now, given that there was death, the next stage will be for the counsel to Chimamanda to demand a full medical record. What happened? We'd like to know. And the family will be entitled to receive the records. But in my practice, I've seen where hospitals refuse. Doctor, hide the report so as to avoid complicity. When that happens, then it will trigger the Chief Magistrate of Lagos to institute a coroner's inquest, because it's a death that was not caused by natural causes. The inquest will now make a finding. As the inquest is going on, the family can also then approach the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria and lodge a complaint. That complaint will look into the case whether or not the doctor was negligent. If they have a finding of negligence, then the possible punishment will be to delicense the doctor. Then the third procedure that is open, because the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria doesn't have the jurisdiction to award compensation, which is another failing, unlike the English system, where the General Medical Council supervises everything, criminal, civil, and regulatory. Here, it's all scattered. You've got to go to the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria for professional negligence. You've got to go to the criminal system. If there's criminal negligence involved, you've got to go to the civil courts. So it's all a mess, So these are the things I'm talking about that needs to be, looked at.
Yeah.
But the coroner's inquest will make a return. So there are three things. It's not, well, let's say that the governor did it in good faith. He did it, so I would not say, technically he has no jurisdiction to launch a probe. There's a statutory process by which it is launched, and that's the coroner's inquest, where the hospital will now make its defense.
Yeah.
And also we now go to the Medical Dental Council for, yes, and then the possibility of going to court, to the High Court. So those are the structures.
We're totally out of time, but I mean, I've been watching with those who are trying to get a bit more backside, because I don't know what anybody needs with the backside, that they need to enhance it. And that has been like a major death scenario for a lot of ladies in Lagos who want to enhance their bodies. And a lot of these things happen unchecked, and these quacks go on without check, and they, and it's so sad. But I'm hoping that this will be a stop to all form of whatever. But thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very dangerous field now. It's called medical aesthetics. It's terrible. People are dying, particularly in Lekki.
Yeah.
The whole place is agog with quacks. All the spas there are full of people injecting Botox and fillers and killing people, and nothing comes out of it.
Yeah, I believe that one should do a lot of medical aesthetics on the brain so that it functions well and people can use it for better things. I don't know why the backside is used for number two, and whatever you use it for, it should be secret, and enhancing is just a waste of, my opinion.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former NBA President. Thank you for your thoughts tonight. That's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimbale. God bless Nigeria.